Hi everyone, today's video we have a special guest from YourEggs donor agency. Fan is here and she is the head coordinator for intended parents, and she's going to be joining me to share her inside tips for all of you to make the process easier. So we're going to learn what it's like on the inside of the donor agency and what it's like for her to work with the intended parents, and to make it easier for you how to move through that process a little bit easier. So thanks so much for joining me today, Fan.
Thank you. I would love to be here and talking about all the things about intended parents here with YourEggs.
Yeah, thanks. So before we get started, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself? What is your title? What do you do here at YourEggs?
Yeah, well, I can make it short or I can make it long. Well, my name is Fan. I am the director of intended parent services here at YourEggs.
Okay.
Mainly, my job is overseeing all the services here with intended parents, from coordinating, the first consultation all the way to their cases, assisting them with their, finding the suitable donors, and all the way to, agency daily database maintenance and their case flow and basically everything here with the agency.
So when someone calls YourEggs, do you answer the phone? Do they get you?
Oh, they actually go to our, coordinator.
Okay.
She will take the phone, and actually she will make sure that is this a donor, inquiry, or this is an intended parents inquiry. So if it is a intended parents inquiry, it will go to me.
Awesome. Okay, yeah. And so then at some point early on in the process, they'll start talking to you and communicating with you.
Correct.
To help start the process and get things going, correct?
Correct. The first step is always the initial consultation that will be setting up with the intended parents, make sure they get started.
Awesome. So while we're talking about that process, can you share with me a little bit about what that process is like, from maybe not so much, the whole thing, but if they call, what's that next step? What's the conversation like with you? And if there's any little tips that you have for anyone calling, let's share those as well.
Definitely. Well, a lot of intended parents actually heard from us, either from TikTok, social media, anywhere, platform that we are on, currently. And they reach out to us sometimes from our website, from the info, directly sending their forms through contact us. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's through, booking the appointment online. And we all received all these inquiries, and we will get back to them, as soon as we can, and make sure that we send a welcome email to them. Welcome to YourEggs. We always set up the initial consultation with them, make sure asking them for their availabilities, and make sure that we have them scheduled for, initial consultation with me.
Great. And then from there, once they set up that initial consultation with you and they're talking with you, what are some of the more important things that you want to hear or learn from them?
Yeah, that is actually the most rewarding and the part that I love, to see our intended parents for the first time. I always do a Zoom consultation with them, okay. Opening the conversation always by introducing myself. And then I will, be loved to, if they would like to share their stories with me. So it's always started at this point that, we're sharing each other's stories, while we introduce me, and they were sharing their journey with me, how they, find us. And once they started sharing, then we will talk more about, what they want and what they exactly, I am here for them. So they, and then, we'll be moving forward with introducing the process. How does the process look for them? How is the different options that we can providing for them? And what are the differences between all the options financially and also from different, programs options difference, for them. They won't choose immediately, during those, during the initial consultation.
It takes time.
Yeah, it takes time, but it's just I want to make sure that the Zoom consultation, we can share our screen, we can share all the information we have, basically lay out in front of them so they can see the difference. And if they have any questions, that's the point that they can ask. Usually the consultation lasts around 30 minutes to 1 hour. It depends on the intended parents, how many questions they have. And that's the initial consultation, for them to know me and for me to know them.
All right, so they've done that part, and then are they setting up another conversation with you to start picking donors? How does that part work when they're actually needing to select a donor?
Wow, that's a very good question. Actually, they don't need a second, consultation because we want to make sure that they already understand everything in the initial consultation.
Oh,
and
great.
right after the consultation, I will send out a follow-up email.
Oh,
And
okay.
in that email, I will list everything we have discussed. In that.
That must be nice for them.
Yeah, as a summary or note for them as well.
Yeah.
So in that email, we will be having those things that like pricing list, like everything we discussed. I'll be attaching to that email, and also their requirements for selecting their donor. I'll also be listing there. Make sure that they agree with what I summarized for them. And also I'll list every single options we have discussed so that they have it on hand. Another very important thing that I want to make sure that they have the access to our database.
Of course, that is maybe the most important thing.
Yeah,
right?
the most important thing.
Yeah.
So I always, make sure that they have the access. So in that email, I'll be sending out so that, I make sure that we granted their, full access to our database, that they can start looking at the donors.
And once someone decides to work with YourEggs and they start looking for donors, how long does that process typically take, that you've seen with other couples from when they start looking to when they select the one that they want to work with? And then I guess to that next step of that person's available and ready to move forward.
Wow, that's a good question. I see, the pattern about, the matching time varies from 1 week to like a month. Like that's usually, takes about that time. 1 week is because we do have a very, very large database that more than 1,500 donors that for them to look at. And they can very easily find their suitable donors for them. So
Okay.
which is a very convenient way for, our intended parents. So when I say a week is they take a look at the database. They give me a list of options. I always make sure that, in our initial consultation, ask them to, when they take a database, they don't need to find the perfect one at the first glance.
Right.
They can give me a list that the
Okay.
donors that are interested. And we take a look, we give them more information that we know about the donor. Because we know our donor well.
Okay.
We know they're local, we know, how is their personality, we know whether she's in school, we know her availability. So we share more information with our intended parents and make sure that, they like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And so then from there, so my imagination is that, or tells me that you're hopefully getting, at least 2, but maybe 3, 4, 5, 6,
right.
maybe even 10 different donors to choose from to start to narrow it down to see who's available, who's not available,
Right.
time frames and so forth. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that is accurate.
Okay.
And I know every intended parents, they don't choose egg donation, as their first choice, right?
Obviously, yeah.
A lot of intended parents tried many cycles of IVF. Some of them may still want to try while they're exploring the options of egg donation. Well, I am serving as a source.
Okay.
For them to make sure that they understand the process, and also telling them that you don't have to find the one first. You can have several. At least you can have another backup plan. Backup donors that you may also like, so that I can give you more information. But I totally understand. A lot of intended parents found the one. And we were trying to work around, their options, and we always present it as transparency as we can, for the information we can provide.
Yeah.
And we coordinate with their donor, make sure that if they're, I understand everyone has a life. And especially our young donors. And, if they have school, we can work around during their holidays,
right?
And during their, spare time or summer. So if the intended parent really like this donor, and we do have that, donor can donate, maybe wait until their winter break.
Right.
Wait until their summer break. This could happen as well.
So that brings me to my next question, which was about the time frame from once they select the one that they
Right.
want to when it actually happens. I'm sure that varies for everybody. Just the examples you just gave mean, some people might have to wait 3 months if someone's in school and they're waiting for break or something like that, right?
Yeah, that sometimes could happen. Normally, our donors are able to start right away, and our intended parents wants to select a donor who can start right away.
Yeah.
We always let them know who are the ones that can start right away, and they can choose, moving forward with those donors. If they really like someone that, they really like and they cannot move forward, currently, that doesn't necessarily mean that, the availability is just due to their schedule. But also sometimes it could happen like proven donors that they're currently matched, but there is another intended parent who also like her.
Right.
So we could, communicate with the donor and make sure that donor is up to the next cycle with this intended parents. So this could happen as well. So yeah, either way, normally the process from the moment that they select the donor to the donor, they get the eggs, complete the process, normally takes about 2 to 3 months for the entire process that they will be, finishing, completing. And sometimes it could take a little bit longer. If that's the case, you mentioned that the donor needs to wait.
Yeah, that all seems very, very reasonable. The thing that keeps coming to mind as I hear you talking about it all is communication.
Right.
To me, so much of this hinges on good, healthy communication between, the intended parents and you and the agency and the donor to make sure that everything is coordinated properly and moving smoothly. Is that, is that the most important thing?
Yes, that is the most important thing. And that's the reason a lot of intended parents ask me the question, why do I need an agency? Like, why do I, how is your team, helping me? That is exactly the part that our team is helping and us facilitating the entire process for our intended parents. Because the process could be very long.
Oh, yeah.
And there's many, many parties involved. So we have our egg donor coordinator communicating with the egg donor, constantly, make sure that her availability, her travel, everything is booked, everything is, arranged. We have our intended parents, case manager, helping the intended parents starting from psychological screening, from the donor psychological screening, arranging, the clinical medical screening for the donors, and all the way to the legal referral. Because the intended parents, for the full fresh cycle, the intended parents needs to go through the legal process with our donor.
Right.
Usually the intended parents, have no idea how does it work,
Sure.
with the legal process. We'll make sure that the intended parents have their attorney. Donor has their own attorney, and we'll make sure that all party, the communication is happen as smooth as possible. And then once the legal, finished, there's a trust account involved, there's a payment involved, there is also, the donor stimulation process started.
Right.
So a lot of communication with clinic, with intended parents, with egg donor, all the party involved, that's what our team is here for.
Yeah,
So
it's important.
It's very important.
Yeah. So with all of those details that you just shared, there's a lot of details to manage. Right. What is your most favorite part of being an IP coordinator?
Well, I think it's the beginning, and sometimes it's the end. That's the part I love. I won't deny.
Right.
I love the first part. The initial consultation is because, I guess it's many intended parents, they don't share their stories, even with their close friends or with their family. It could be a very stressful, decision, and it could be some decision that they haven't really committed yet. So they don't share their journey or their past journey with even their close friends. And I think I am the luckiest one to hear all these journeys that intended parents has been sharing with me. And I'm also very grateful that I am the one that could presenting them, the options. And as I mentioned, that I guess it's like a source of hope. Mm-hmm. Could help them turn their frustration into a future hope for completing their family. So starting from that consultation, I think that's the part that I really enjoyed. Until now, I'm still very enjoyed of my every single Zoom meeting with my intended parents. Another part, I guess, is just everyone's happy face is that, we received the clinical, their...
The positive?
Positive, and also their PGTA normal, enroll report. That's a part our whole team is jump, we're clapped. We're very happy for them. Yeah. And not to mention, their first HCG positive, they're pregnant, they're, just every single joy face that we see from the intended parents.
Yeah, it's so special when you were just talking about just being such a crucial part of that process and being potentially that first person that they've ever shared their story with because it's such a private experience. I can imagine how special that moment is for you to be part of. And when you were talking about it, I got the chills. I was just like, it's such a special moment. So I understand why that could be, the thing for you. But obviously, when someone calls or when you're calling them to tell them that they have a success and everything's positive, then that's also a special moment. So maybe my last question, I'm not sure yet, but my question for you is, do you have a recent story that you can share that might give a little bit of hope to those who are watching, who are coming down this journey with you?
Yeah, definitely. I actually do have a story that intended parents, I think you also mentioned about, the donor waiting, and, we previously discussed.
Yeah.
So there is a intended mother, who selected a donor, previously for their first donor she selected.
Okay.
And for however the reason, family reasons, that donor, decided to not moving forward at that point. So the intended mother trusted us with no doubt that we helped her rematch a donor, like immediately, basically. Mm-hmm. And, she moved forward with the donor, and the donor actually just did a retrieval. It's very successful.
Oh, and wonderful.
There's a lot of communication happened in during the process. But what I am grateful is that, there is the communication and the trusting happened between the intended parents and us. I know the journey could be, sometimes as difficult, challenging for intended parents to understand, but we are really appreciate the trust and the build from, between us. It's like a bridge, and it's really the trusting relationship building from between the agency and the intended parents. And we appreciate every trust from our intended parents, to us.
That they give you.
Yeah, that they give it to us. So we're always here to help. As I mentioned to all of our intended parents, that we're here to help. And sometimes could be difficulties, challenges arises, and we manage them. We try to make sure that everything still, solve the things and then moving forward. So that's the thing that, I really appreciate all of our intended parents.
Yeah, that's a beautiful story. So to wrap up, any words of wisdom, one tip of advice that you want to share to those who are watching, who are intended parents, that you're like, at least do this, or what's the one thing that you'd want to share with them? Yeah,
definitely. So if I can only get to pick one thing, I think is to get to know egg donation. Because I do have several intended parents. After their first HCG pregnancy, they came back to me, and the thing they told me is that they wish they know egg donation earlier.
Sooner.
Yeah. So that's the part that I want to share with a lot of IVF patients that, we have encountered a lot of IVF intended parents, or future intended parents that, maybe get to know egg donation. While the time you're trying the IVF, maybe to get to know, this area, this field, and this could be another option for them. And I hope it's never too late, but I hope, I can be here, when they are trying to know, egg donation, I can be here to answer any questions they may have.
Well, I really, really appreciate you joining me today and all the information you shared. I'm sure that everybody watching really appreciates the information you need that you shared, and so thank you so much for being here with us. For all of you watching, if you liked this video, which I'm sure you did because there was tons of amazing information shared, make sure you like this video. If you're not already a subscriber to our channel, please make sure to subscribe so you know when we put out another video for all of you. But most of all, we want to hear from you. Fan shared a lot of important information, and now we want to hear which one was the most important for all of you and what questions you have about either being an egg donor, using an egg donor, or being an intended parent. Leave those comments below. If you want more information about YourEggs, then you can always download the app on your Android or Apple device and stores. And if you want to actually check out the website specifically, then just head on over to youreggs.com. And we will see you in the next video.